What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. And if my hair's looking extra fluffy, I promise it's probably about 10 to 20% fluffier in person. The humidity, the frizz, it's all real. Anyways, sorry, this chair on carpet, it's not ideal. Anyways, welcome back to Tesla Talk Tuesday. Tesla, speaking of Tesla stock all-time highs, over $1,400 a share, 250 billion plus market cap. It's crazy. At the same time, though, you have stocks like NIO, BYD, that company, the ticker's BYDDY, I think. A little thinly traded, but they're all like skyrocketing. These electric car companies are doing pretty well, but they could be in bubble territory, so be careful buying at these prices. You could take a little off, sell some, or if you know how to use options, I highly suggest, if you want to get into positions, sell some puts. If you own some positions, maybe sell some calls against those, but just be careful out there. So not only Tesla, but we've seen other car companies recently come out with new electric vehicles, and well, one other shift. Porsche, obviously, they just came out with the Taycan. I never know the exact pronunciation, but the point being, they're actually looking to fully electrify the Macan, which is their smaller SUV. So they have the Cayenne and the Macan. So the Macan, I don't know if it's bigger than the Model Y or not, but either way, it's probably competing in that space. However, it might be closer to the price point of like the Model X. I think they start at like 50,000, maybe 60,000. I'm not really sure. But point being, Porsche trying to electrify yet another vehicle. They're trying to get their plants ready for this. There's clearly going to be a shift, and I think the Taycan was kind of like the proof of concept, get some technology out there, sort of like a testing ground vehicle for them to move forward with this. So it should be interesting to see how they move forward. I will actually have access to a plug-in hybrid. So it's the Porsche Cayenne. I think it's a Sportback one, so it has like a slantier roof to it. I'm very excited. This car should be coming to someone I know very, very soon. I think it's being built right now, actually, or maybe it's on the ship being shipped over. So I'd say within the next month, hopefully. But it is a plug-in hybrid. I think it gets like 30 to 40 miles of all-electric range, which is more than like the BMW X3 that Chelsea was looking at. So it should be interesting to see this car. They will have an electric outlet, actually, charger like installed in their garage to plug this car in. So it'll be cool to see this. I already got the okay to take the car out and sort of do a little review on that car. So I am very interested to see that car and sort of how the specs come out in like all electric mode, hybrid mode, or obviously you can just make it all engine, but it is pretty neat, and clearly cars are like pushing that way. You get better gas mileage, obviously, because you get 40 miles of all electric range before you have to pay for any gas. So if you're just doing grocery getter, kind of run errand car, it's perfect. You can just use the 40 miles of electric range, go back home, plug it in, you're good to go. I believe it does recharge while driving as well, so you kind of have the best of both worlds. You don't have to plug it in your garage, but if you do just want to use all electric, you can drive around, go back home, plug it in, next day you'll have 40 more miles. So it is pretty neat to see, but obviously Porsches are much more expensive than other cars, as we've seen with the Taycan, $200,000 Taycan Turbo S versus $95,000 performance Tesla Model S. So big drastic price difference between those two, basically more than double the price once you add in features and options on the Taycan. Now something really cool, well, I guess it's not that cool, but it is pretty cool. Elon likes to make fun of all the short sellers on the stock, and obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Tesla skyrocketing to all-time highs. It was over $1,400 a share. I think it closed at like $1,380 something, but Tesla decided to release some shorts. They're like a red satin short shorts that say sexy, S3XY for the Model S, Model 3, Model X, Model Y on the back of the shorts. It's fantastic. Obviously, I got a pair, so I don't know when they're going to come. They're being sold for $69 and 420 cents. Does that make sense? 0.420, whatever, 42 cents, but they just threw in the extra zero spot, so it was 69 and 420. Anyways, hilarious sense of humor with Elon there doing that. I think it's fantastic, so I decided to spring and buy a pair of these sexy short shorts. So hopefully I'll be modeling these soon, wear them to some car meets, head to the beach, go around town. No, I'm just kidding. We'll see if I wear them at all, but maybe. Anyways, I thought it was hilarious, so obviously I had to buy some, and well, more revenue to Tesla, so Good for them. Now, speaking of going towards like electric or even plug-in hybrid vehicles in the meantime, Tesla is apparently trying to sort of make a push into more of like fleet vehicle status. So instead of having, a bunch of like Toyota Camrys or something like that, if people can go to like a Model 3, for example, when they start realizing that as long as the range is satisfied for the day, the costs are significantly cheaper. Just the operational costs, not paying for gas, and then if you amortize like the savings, even if the car costs a little bit more, like, so there's one comparison chart that I looked at, which I'll throw up here. You have the Tesla Model 3 and the Toyota Camry LE. Obviously, there's the Audi A5, but it's much more expensive. If you look at the Tesla Model 3, it shows a purchase price of $38,900. The Toyota Camry is $24,600. So that's over $10,000 more. Then, if you look at all of these other costs in there, it basically gets to the bottom line, which is the cost per mile. And you can see that the cost per mile isn't significantly less, but it is less. Even though the purchase price is more, the savings over time are so drastic. Now, this is only 5-year cost of ownership. If you assume that these cars, these electric cars, are going to be able to go like 1,000,000 miles and you amortize it over 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, well, that's really where you see that play out, because the price alone, even though it's $10,000 more, you're already seeing a cost per mile that's lower on the Model 3. So if you take that out longer, that's where you start seeing like maintenance and gas costs that are fixed costs even into the future with a gasoline car that you may not see on an EV. So this is where the savings can get significant and Tesla can really shine and start doing crazy incremental sales. I mean, imagine if like enterprise and like car rental companies start renting out electric vehicles as well. That means these, enterprise, Avis, Budget, all these rental car companies are going to be buying hundreds, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands. They're going to be buying a lot of Model 3s, maybe even Model S's or Model Ys, and people are going to be renting these cars, which means better sales for Tesla. So obviously, if you look at their sales right now, they're actually doing really well. I think there were estimates saying that Tesla could be selling like over 700,000 cars this year, which is a crazy number to think about. And the revenue on all of these is pretty good. I'm obviously super excited for the Cybertruck to come out, but this push to potential fleet vehicles could be a huge step change in Tesla and their revenue in the future. Oh, so going along with this like push into the fleets, I guess they're holding like webinar kind of things to help explain to people, like they're all electric, but you get the gas savings. You can just charge overnight. The range is obviously very sufficient now with long range Model 3 over 300 miles. You have the long range Model S over 400 miles of range. So when you take all these things into consideration, it starts to make a lot of sense, especially if you're just doing 1 to 200 miles a day, and then some of these cars are just idling. So if you have an electric vehicle, you're not spewing out fumes into the environment while the car is idling, yet you can still get efficient range and have the AC or heat on while the car is idling in an EV. So it is neat, and it is cool to see that Tesla is sort of trying to inform people and help them understand this. Now, something that I'm super excited for, and I talked about in, I think, the last Tesla Talk Tuesday, the Cybertruck. So somebody tweeted to Elon saying it would be really cool to see the Cybertruck in person on the East Coast. And Elon did say that the Cybertruck, they're aiming to allow the Cybertruck to make a cross-country road trip before the end of the year. So that would be super exciting. So for all those car enthusiasts out there, you know that there is a 710 horsepower Hellcat engine. So you have the Hellcat, like the Hellcat Red Eye, you have the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk, and now you have that same Hellcat 700 plus horsepower engine dropped into a Dodge Durango, I think, something like that. But what is interesting is that like Fiat Chrysler Automotive Group that owns all these brands, they're actually coming out and say that the Hellcat engine days are numbered, like the engine's doomed. And the simple reason is emissions. Going forward, emissions are just getting more and more strict, and they're not gonna be able to do this in the future. Like, that's a lot of the reason why you see a lot of like V8, V10, V12 engines dropping to, V6, V8, V10 engines basically down to smaller engine sizes, and then they add a turbo or a twin turbo in order to get more power out of it. And that's because of emissions. Obviously, you get better efficiency when you drop the size of the engine, and you just increase, putting a supercharger or a turbocharger on there. You can get more power, but better like gas efficiency and emissions. So you don't get that, V8, V10, V12 like engine roar or exhaust note that you might want, but you get that turbo noise, which is actually pretty cool, or that supercharger whine. So it's just kind of a different noise, but yeah, that could be going away, which is why EVs are going to keep pushing along and do really well. But it is kind of depressing because I am a huge car enthusiast. I love hearing the screams of like the Hellcat engine. It sounds amazing. The V8 on an Aston Martin, the V12 scream on any Aventador, Murcielago, Diablo, Countach, any of those cars, they're so iconic, they sound amazing. But it is interesting to see that these executives are basically pointing out that their cars, these engines are doomed going forward. Like, there's really no way to get around it unless you start adding in these hybrid systems or potentially just dropping it down from like a V12 to a V10 to a V8 and adding in a turbocharger, supercharger, whatever it is, to get better fuel efficiency and meet emissions requirements, while potentially adding in electric cars to your fleet in order to meet overall like emissions goals, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 2-3 years. I know that tomorrow at noon, Lamborghini has something on their website. They're announcing, I think, another car, which could potentially be a hybrid as well. As you know, Ferrari, or you might know, Ferrari has announced, you know, I think it's the SF90. Does it have the hybrid system? It's like 1,000 horsepower or something. So these supercars are obviously having to embrace this. They're realizing that the Tesla Roadster is going to come out and just blow them out of the water. So they got to make moves, and obviously electrification, Rimac, which I think Porsche invested in. You know, you have these companies and they're realizing like electric it gives you that instant torque and horsepower from zero, just like go. So it's the way of the future, whether or not you like it. Now, a while back, Tesla, I think I mentioned it, they were basically doing a whole rewrite of autopilot. So like retraining the neural net, and then just rewriting all of the code for it. So based on this, I think they're getting closer to pushing more of those updates out. And Elon has come out and said in the next 2 to 4 months, there should be a lot of good updates. So I guess I'm excited for this, although I don't really reap the benefits because I don't have autopilot. So yeah. All right, and last but not least, just gonna throw this in there. Back when the SEC, I guess, like approached Elon and Tesla, when Elon tweeted out the famous like funding secured, going private at $420 a share. Basically, he had to pay a fine of like 20 million. Tesla had to pay a fine of 20 million. But what actually happened was Elon then bought $20 million worth of Tesla stock, so that like Tesla shareholders didn't get hit by Tesla paying 20 million, if that makes sense. So like Tesla paid 20 million, but then Elon basically gave Tesla 20 million by buying $20 million worth of stock. Yeah, okay. So by doing that, he's actually made $50 million because of the price rise of Tesla over the last 2 years. So from when he had to buy $20 million worth of stock, that $20 million is worth like $80 million now. So he's profited like $50 million because of that. So it's kind of like nice backhand to the face of the SEC being like, ha, gotcha. Because yeah, anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. There was an article on Electric about it. And yeah, it's funny how that works. So karma worked in his favor in this situation. I think that's gonna be it though for this Tesla Talk Tuesday. If you guys enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel below. More BMW content. I gotta get some stuff with that M40i. There's some cool tech in there as well. Obviously it's not electric, but you got like pretty good exhaust note and some cool like auto park feature stuff. I don't know anything about the cruise control, so I do have to read up on that, but some videos to come for sure. Anyways, that is gonna be it. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching.